Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. As you can see, you are at the New Product Development in today's scholarly publishing environment. So if you don't mean to be here, now's your time to go. But we're very happy to have all of you here and welcome you to this afternoon's session. I'm very fortunate to have a wonderful group of fellow panelists, and they hail from all different areas of scholarly publishing: scientific, medical, engineering, and from books and journals, open access, subscription. So we're hoping to, even though the talks may deal with particular topics today, we're hoping that you can ask any question at the end of our session today and have someone that can provide you with some of their experience and share some thoughts. And same with you. If when we get to the questions at the end, any of you would like to share your experiences that either are the same or different from anything we talk about today, we'd love to hear from you. We have an hour and a half today. Each of us is going to talk for about 10 minutes. And at the end of our session, we'll actually have the last two panelists that we'll interview. One will interview the other. So we'll try to keep things lively and moving in the time we have together today. And I was going to ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves to you and just give a one-line sentence on what their talk's going to be about, so you can kind of see what's coming forward. So I'm going to start us out in a minute on just an overview of new product development.
Hi, I'm Will Schweitzer. I'm the Director of Product Development for AAAS Science. I'm going to talk a bit about our product development process, drawing some examples from Science Advances, the journal we just launched.
Hello, I'm Peter Ashman. I'm the Publishing Director at BMJ. I'm also the Chair of ALPSP. And I'm going to talk today about BMJ's user-centric approach to new product development.
Hi there, I'm Kelly Cohen, Senior Publisher with the Optical Society, and today I'm going to talk about our three-pronged approach to new product development.
I'm Rich Lampert. I'm a publishing consultant, and my role in this panel basically is to interview David Marshall, the next panelist, about some things he's undertaken at SciAm. I'll let him speak for himself.
I'm David Marshall. Nice to see you all. I am publisher at SciAm, and Rich is going to be asking questions about our experience in ebook publishing, and I am hopefully going to be providing the answers.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So I thought that I would begin, when I thought about new product development and how do we conceptualize new product development, how do I think about it? I've been fortunate enough to be involved in new product development for most of my career, and I think it's one of the most creative and fun things you can do because you really have to think about all the parts of publishing. You have to think about all of your audiences, your readers, your authors, your advertisers. You have to think about the business model. You have to think about what you're going to provide, how it's going to be interesting, how it looks, how it appears, how it gets distributed. And so we find it very exciting. But when I thought, well, what do I want to share with you today about the things that I think are most important or some guiding principles that I use in thinking about new product development, I did hearken back for at least a few slides to my business school days, and that they're probably tools that you've seen, but these are 3 or 4 different tools that I think are really useful in thinking or coming up with ideas for new products. So to begin, it's the product life cycle, and I think we all in scholarly publishing today really understand that many of the products that we work on and care about a great deal and want to continue to nourish have been with us for many, many years, whether it's 20 years, 50, 200 years. And they need to be reinvigorated. And there also is what this tool is really telling us is that there is a product life cycle, that there is an introduction time, a period of growth, maturity, and decline. You can hopefully stem that decline by introducing new things. The example that's provided here is product extension. So that's just one example. But that thinking of each of our products as it being natural for them to have this sort of life cycle, I think can be very helpful in sort of providing the energy or the reason to continue to look for a new development. The other thing that I think about that was very useful when I first learned about it was the growth matrix. And this is really looking at different ways that you can conceive of products. You know, there are current products for current markets, which really is the least risk. You know, it's something you understand. You understand your current products, you understand your current markets. But then there are new products for current markets. There are new markets for current products, which is something, again, that's not as difficult as actually looking at new markets and new products. So this gives you an idea of the different kinds of ways you can sort of categorize products in your head as to which ones would be more risky and which ones are oftentimes less risky. But then with risk comes often the larger reward. This is a little bit busy, but you can find a gazillion different examples, and this is the one that's probably the most popular, which is looking at, this came from Boston Consulting Group in the 50s, looking at the portfolio growth share mix. And this is the idea that if you have a product portfolio, that in order to have a healthy portfolio, you probably have 4 basic different kinds of products. One that may be a question mark, which is that right now it has low market share and high market growth potential, but you have to decide whether you're going to actually discard that product or whether you're going to heavily invest in it to really bring it out of that sort of question mark status. And then there are stars. Not everything can be a star, as we know. So you really, but you do have products that are real stars, and they often can be the ones that you want to invest in going forward, and that they have high market growth, and you want to make sure that they're well-resourced, for instance. And then there are probably, again, what many of our flagship products are, is cash cows. Not to belittle them in that way, but that they really are able to produce a terrific revenue stream that you can count on that allow you to invest in either, again, the sort of rebirth of the existing product or in new products. And then there are the dogs, which is, you know, you tried something, it didn't work, or the market has changed, or for whatever reason. And oftentimes, especially in member organizations, quite frankly, that people are not so ready to get rid of products that really aren't working for them anymore. But again, I think looking at products and sort of thinking about how they might fit into one of these categories gives you an idea of what you might want to do with them and what would be the best approach. This is just a different, more complex view that the other major business consulting company, McKinsey, did. And they are really looking at market attractiveness and business unit strength. And I kind of like this approach as well. It's a lot like the growth matrix, but it deals with your own organization's competencies. You know, we will often get asked as consultants, which products should I do? Well, a lot depends on what your interests are, your competencies. It's what may work for one organization in a particular market may be absolutely inappropriate for a different organization. And so I like looking at this because it talks about what's the strength of your organization. So you're taking that into account. You know, it may be very fun to do a new consumer publication, for instance, but if you have no news division or you never approached or your society itself doesn't do outreach to the larger community, then the idea of a publications group being able to reach consumers could be a harder row. That may be more difficult. And then I decided just for the second half of this is just to give you a few examples of the tools that we've developed over time. There's nothing really that special about them, but they're the ones that we really think provide us good fundamentals with thinking about new product development, what the process could be, what not to forget to do. And we looked first at what the idea generation could be, because right now things are changing so quickly in our environment that it's often difficult to even figure out what to do next. And so here are just some of the common ways that ideas can be generated. You certainly, we find that in our consulting practice, we do so many more strategic planning sessions now because everyone's really trying to put their heads together to figure out how to create new really interesting products that people really need, or how to reinvent the ones that we have. And then there's workflow observation. This is certainly Very important. I'm sure you've all heard of, making sure that the product actually fits within the scientist's or the physician's workflow. Is it something that can be used? Is it something that's going to be available at the point of the need for the information? We do a lot with in-depth interviews, and I think that's just a very classic way of finding out information, talking to experts. But it's also very important to have surveys where you're not just talking to experts, but you're really looking at what end users want as well, which we'll talk about more in a minute. And then looking at the competition and looking at what gaps may exist. I get asked a lot, working in this field, is what kinds of new products should we do? And I tend to see, working 30 years in scholarly publishing, that there tend to be products du jour. And these are the products du jour that we all see: open access journals, the sort of umbrella term educational products, subspecialty journals, and microsites and virtual journals. The other thing that we rely on that we think is very important is to follow a new product development cycle. And this is just, again, really classic sort of business school kinds of things, but so often, especially the way that societies and other publishing houses are organized, you sometimes tend to take more to heart about what the experts say rather than, again, checking on what the users say. So here we're talking about going from idea generation to then screening the idea, so actually getting some market feedback, then developing a concept, actually trying to create a picture either in words or actually creating a sample product, screenshots, whatever it's going to be, with the concept, and then going and doing end-user research to actually decide, is somebody going to be interested in it? Are they going to use it? What kind of value do they place on it? Then refining things, coming up with product specifications. Then it's maybe time to do the financial projections. And then perhaps go for board approval, depending on what you have, roll out the product, and then make sure that you come back and continue the market research to know whether you're having success so you can continue to develop the product. Looking at Steve Jobs' quote from 10 years ago, at Apple we come at everything asking how easy is this going to be for the user, how great is it going to be for the user. And then the other thing that we use a lot is making sure that we've really envisioned the product. I mean, I think we've all run into these kinds of frustrations where someone asks you to either start marketing something or putting financials on something that really hasn't been fully thought out. And so these are just some of the overall questions that we put together to make sure that you can both define the concept and the product specifications in broad enough terms to be able to actually move forward so that each person in your organization can understand what it is you're trying to create and give their feedback. And that's what I have to offer you right now, and then we're going to have Peter come up next.